Welcome! Today I'm going to tell you my thoughts about Amphoreus. Star Whale has been going on for 2 years now, actually almost 2 years and a half, and I'm going to call their new patches kind of like expansions, like World of Warcraft has expansions, and so does Final Fantasy XIV. I'm just going to call patches new expansions, okay? So, Amphoreus is the most aggressive and cinematic expansion that Star Whale has ever done. Star Rail has been around for about 2 years now. And the story couldn't get more interesting. This is a grand tale, even better told than Final Fantasies, and even Kingdom Hearts. It depends who you talk to, whether that's a great tale or a very contrived tale, right? But Star Rail has been fantastic, and I want to go over some of the things I thought they improved from other patches with, but also kind of failed with Amphoreus as well. And don't get me wrong, it was a great expansion, but there is definitely some stuff that did not work as well. For example, there was in the very beginning of Amphoreus, I felt like we were exploring a whole new world. They did a really good job with the exploration. But as you went farther on, right, the exploration stopped happening, like altogether. The world felt like very sandboxy and closed off, even though they have done this with other expansions like the Lafu and Pelconi and Bellabarg, right? But for some reason, this sandbox just felt more like a sandbox, while the other ones felt like more of an open world. And I think it's from the increase in cinematic storytelling and also the running around certain corridors towards the end of the expansion. For example, up to patch 3.2, the world felt vast and open, and like anything could be around a corner, a treasure chest, blah blah blah, right? Once you get to patch 3.3, you have a Naxxus talking to the Titan of Reason for almost a whole patch. It was ridiculous. There was like 5 hours of video of just a Naxxus talking to the Titan of Reason, and no fighting, no anything, just that. But I feel like after that patch, it became one big hallway, alright? You had the 3.4, which was huge. 3.4 was the Fate collaboration, which I thought was very nice and open-ended. And I have very high respect for the Fate collaboration, even if some people did not. I thought it worked really well with Fate, but I'm not here to defend the collaboration. But you had the story of Finon, and we find out who he is, and everything that went down, and you have Finon sacrificing himself at the end of the patch. All fine and dandy and everything. But, again, it's a very straight hallway for the whole patch, right? It's more of a movie than it is a game at this point. Then you go to patch 3.5, which is actually my favorite patch in the whole expansion. And it's right before their deaths. And I thought it was fantastic. It reminded me of 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago, of going to Xanarkand for the very first time in Final Fantasy X and seeing the ghosts of the past. And as they, talk about defeating sin and doing all this stuff. That's what patch 3.5 reminded me of.
If it might benefit the future of Spira, I will gladly give my life. It is the highest honor for which a guardian might ask. Use my life, Lady Yoken, and rid Spira of sin.
What was that?
Our predecessors.
She said Lady Yoken, didn't she? Wait, she guarded High Summoner Jokun?
This dome is filled with fireflies. It's like one gigantic sphere. People's thoughts remain here, forever.
Keep moving forward. My blood will pave the road ahead for you.
Keep moving forward, little Gray. See you tomorrow.
That seamstress wasn't wrong when she said a lie needs more lies to keep it together.
Like, even though this was a hallway patch, it was a very beautiful hallway patch. And then the boss at the end, of course, being Lycurgus or Xandar being confirmed, was just the cherry on top it needed. Plus, it's also the first boss that we had like 8 bars on in the story, and it was a very fitting boss. I enjoyed it, even though the design was very similar to Brainiac from Superman. I thought it was really well done in the build up to it. Also, the 2 demigods that were really hinted towards for everything since 3.4, Hycelians and Syndralar, the Importer, right? I thought these would be the 2 lamest demigods because we have barely seen them for any point in time. The only time we really seen them is when they're making the deal with Phynon at the beginning of 3.4, right? And so I thought they were gonna really snuff out these characters, and they didn't. These characters are some of the most developed characters in the whole story. I love the Imperator. I like her part in the story. I like how she's playing a game of chess against Lycurgus for this whole cycle. And how she even sacrificed herself, as like you would sacrifice a queen on a chessboard in order to take the king. And that's basically what she did. And all the pieces fell into place because of her. Was she a great person? No, she sacrificed 500 people in order to get the Order of Law. She is not a good person. But did she benefit, like, did she help save Amphoreus? She's probably the biggest piece that Amphoreus needed to put herself in a selfless situation. I liked it. Also, Hycelians was given a lot of character development in such a short time that it made her feel like she was around for all of Amphoreus. Like, I thought it was beautiful storytelling. I was prepared to not like Hycelians, and I absolutely loved her character. Now, would I have given her a different voice? Maybe, but the voice grew on me, and I kind of like it now. I don't think it's the greatest voice for her, but also that singing and the way she says "grey fries" sometimes, I kind of dig it now. Something else I didn't like though is, since they gave these characters such great character development, they had to drop the ball on another character that I thought was very important to the story. Aglaia the Gold Weaver, okay? I love Aglaia at the beginning of Amphoreus. Not so much towards the end of Amphoreus, and let me explain. Aglaia is this great leader that has protected Akuma for countless eons and everything, and she is the way she is because the demigod blood has been in her for so long that, just like Phynon, she's trying not to give in to the destruction, even though she doesn't know it's the destruction at this point. But her metamorphosis makes her like a really selfless leader, and no one gives her credit for it, and she still does it because it's the right thing to do, right? And I thought that was very powerful. Later on in the story, Aglaia is put on a side shelf, and she's not important to the story going forward at all. Now, she does have a part in 3.5, which is my favorite patch, that she did protect Akuma for a long time. And her fall was what had to happen in order for the other demigods to bring their plans into action. But her character development, again, is not shown on screen. We are told about it. So, again, Aglaia is kind of put on the back shelf for most of the second half, if not longer, of Amphoreus. And I thought that was a total shame.
Professor, I completed the proof you wanted.
Anaxis was overused, I feel, and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Anaxis's character. I enjoyed how he said certain things, and I liked his, I guess I should call it sassiness. I think he was a fantastic character. I think the Tribioses was exactly what they needed them to be. I think they played the part perfectly. I have no quarrels about the Tribioses. Tribios, Trian, Tran, whatever their names are. I think they were perfectly done and perfectly placed, and the whole line, "I will see you tomorrow," will always be iconic in Star Rail. In fact, I am probably going to use that line a lot. I think Mighty Mose is probably the character that I feel grew on me the most. I didn't like Mighty Mose when he was first introduced during the Siege of Akama when we first got to the city. I didn't care for him. I was making fun of the name Nicodor the whole time, but I was thinking Mighty Mose is just going to be one of those trope, you know, good guys but doesn't get along with Phynon and blah blah blah. Mighty Mose turned out to be probably the most selfless demigod of them all. In any cycle, Mighty Mose was just really cool, and I have no quarrels about him despite his faults. He always looked towards the future and put himself last, and I think Mighty Mose was the perfect one to lead the Camnoans and just everything that was brought by. I really fell in love with Mighty Mose after he took the power from Nicodor in the first cycle we were in. He selfishly went and fought the Black Tide alone, and I just thought that was a really cool, and honestly my heart broke when he was stabbed in the back for the very first time. Like, oh my goodness, I didn't think a Star Rail character would make me think this way since Firefly. But Mighty Mose is probably on my short list for best character of the expansion. I liked Phynon a lot more than I thought I would. Phynon has a lot of depth, and I know he's based on a character from Honkai III, which I have not met yet, Kevin. But he has a lot of depth through the whole thing, and I feel like it was a shame that he went off to fight Nanook for a long time, the Eon of Destruction, and he was kind of like trapped. He was kind of like the carrier, kind of like Jet was for Sin in Final Fantasy X. So he went and disappeared for a bunch of patches, right? And then he came back towards the end, and I thought that was fitting, but I feel like Phynon didn't make a big enough impression at the beginning for the payoff to totally work. I think the payoff was good. I just think we needed a little bit more time with Phynon. And that's my only problem with his character. Let's see. Who am I forgetting?
This is Xander. Xander 1 Kuwabara, the first genius in history.
The one who supposedly created Noose?
Yeah, that's him. If the legends are true, then he was a man who created an Eon.
Well, they better be false. I don't want to be a Xandar hunter.
I think Lycurgus was great. I hate the way he talks. I always will hate it. But I think he was a great villain. I like that we got to learn more about Screwlum and Planet Screwlum and the way Screwlum activates. I wish he would become a playable character. I really do. I think he's one of the few geniuses that actually cares about other people. Now, you can make the same response about Herta, by the way. Herta doesn't seem like she cares, but she cares deeply for everybody that she would call friend. But I will make the case a little bit later. But Skrulum is one of the few geniuses that not only asks, like, can we do this, but should we do this? And I think that's, like, super, super important. Like, the Genius Society so far, who we met, lacks a certain, how could I say, human decency for life in general. And, you know, keeping their own science from hurting other people. They don't care about that as long as it furthers their own goals. And even the nice geniuses so far, we have seen this problem with, right? Skrulum doesn't have this problem. If there was anyone to lead the Genius Society, it would be Herta or Skrulum, and I think Skrulum would probably make a better leader than the two, although I think Herta is much more impressive.
Who's this? Herta?
Yeah.
She looks so young. She was already famous in the last Amber era, no? She has to be at least 100 years old.
She's a member of the Genius Society and an emanator of Noose the Erudition. She can probably age backwards if she wanted.
Yeah, I seem to recall that over half of the Genius Society's 80-odd members had a normal death. Wasn't there someone who lived for a dozen days or so? What was their name?
That's pretty normal. Aren't the immortal bosses in games always waiting for the protagonist to come kill them? Immortality is not always a good thing.
Oh, what an alliance joke.
We learned more about Herta this expansion, and I think that is fantastic. It made her more of a real character. So from the very beginning of the game, when we were, how should I put it, when we were as Kafka, we see a portrait of Herta and we learn more about Herta, and through the conversations with Silverwolf, that Herta is this big deal. And the character, the Herta, has not disappointed in one least. If we didn't go to Amphoreus, Herta would have sacrificed herself and maybe saved the universe? I was unclear from that trailer. But she would have sacrificed herself and she would have died, but she would have saved the universe through her death, only for a little while, right? It wouldn't have been permanent. But Herta, again, cares about other people, even though she doesn't seem like it. She seems like the most cocky. Out of all the Genius Society members, I think she is the most fabulous as far as accomplishments and power level. Now, that doesn't mean she's going to be the most powerful, but as far as power level with her intellect, I think she is the most capable of all of them. Herta can utilize mirrors, she can make puppets, and she literally has an army of them, a whole city of them, that she can destroy at any time and then rebuild. And again, she has a bunch of mirrors too, which has some fantastic powers. She can capture people, put them to sleep, and do all kinds of stuff with the mirrors. Transportation, all kinds. Her and Skrulum make the perfect team together as far as geniuses go. We haven't seen or met nearly all the geniuses yet, but I think as a pair, these two geniuses could take on the whole society if they needed to. We have the best geniuses on our side, in my opinion. And Wu Mei would actually be on our side too, even though I don't consider her nearly as good as Herta or Skrulum. Wu Mei is a genius in her own right, but again, she's kind of oblivious to other things than her science, and she has some problems. But she would side with Herta. Her and Herta are close. Alright. So, who am I forgetting?